Hello, this is a quick video to walk you through the customization features that are available to suit AuditionAdmin to work with your auditions. Start with the Event Setup menu. Under Event Settings, we've got our event abbreviation and event name that allow us to set the name and abbreviation for our organization. Students can advance to further auditions if you're running an all-district audition, but students are also auditioning for the first round for All-State at the same time. This is the place where you would indicate either no or yes they can advance. If they can advance, what is that next level thing they're going to, OMEA or All-State or All-Region, whatever the next one is. Event administrator name and email. This is the person that would need to be contacted. If people have questions about the auditions, this is the person in charge, gives their contact information. Address payment should be mailed to. This sets the address that will be put on invoices and entry reports wherever you want people to mail their payment. Registration code. When people sign up to create an account, one of the parts is it asks them for a code. This is to eliminate the chance of just random people going in and making up accounts just to be pests. This is a code is required for them, so you can set that to whatever you want it to be. Subscores for each judge. This is the number of subscores that are entered for each judge. If we're going to set audition guidelines here in a moment, this is a setting that really doesn't apply anymore for that. Enable score entry by judges. This controls whether or not judges are able to see the judging menu and enter scores. I like to leave this at no until the day of auditions, just to make sure that no one's going in and entering data that's not necessary, that's not really scores because they're just playing around with the system or whatever. Enable Olympic scoring. If this is enabled yes, and you have 3 or more judges in the room, the system will disregard the highest judge's score and the lowest judge's score. Again, if there's only 1 or 2 judges, then it won't matter what this is set to. But if you have 3 or more judges, then it will ignore the high and low scores. Bonus score enabled. This is if you have an audition, for example, some of our jazz auditions have a separate room students go to, and they can improvise for bonus points for a bonus score. If you do have something like that, you can enable bonus score here to run that. If you don't have any sort of separate bonus score room for that, you can ignore that. Maximum bonus points is the most points that they're allowed to get in the bonus room. If you're letting judges enter their scores directly, default sight reading timer sets the time that's their timer is set for the sight reading that shows up on their screen. It gives them a timer on the score entry screen where they can time their sight reading there. Flag scores below what percent of points possible and refuse to seat flagged entries. This is set to flag students that get just exceptionally low scores. In this case, if a student scored below 25 points possible, then on the seating 25% of the points possible, then on the seating screen it's going to put a little flag beside them. Refuse to seat flagged entries will prevent them from seating. So for example, if you say you're going to take 3 oboes, but that third oboe scored 7 points out of 200, if this is set to yes, this will not seat that student in the band. Fee structure, only first entry pays means if a student's doubling, they're only going to be charged an entry fee once. All entries pay fee. If a student enters on 3 instruments, they pay 3 entry fees. Late fee, how much you charge for your entry fee. Minimum grade and maximum grade affect the highest grade and lowest grade options shown for entry information. Okay. Next, on event setup, we have scoring guidelines. These are, in some ways, our rubric. It's our max score for each area. There's a couple set up here for concert percussion and for concert winds. If you wanted a new one, you could hit Add Scoring Guide, and then for each subscore that you have, you enter what the score name is and the maximum number of points available for that score. Score relevance. This only shows up if we're doing an advancement audition. Sometimes you have a score that only counts for advancement or only counts for all district. If it only counted for our all district seats, we would do count only for seating. If it counted only for advancement to all state, we would choose only for OMEA. And if it counts for both, we would choose counts for seating and OMEA. For example, our all-state group does not require scales at the first round, but some district groups still want to hear them play scales. In that case, we would say it counts it only for seating, and that way that score does not matter when it shows who should advance to the next round of auditions for All-State or not. So we've got over here, if we wanted to edit one that exists, we can click the little pencil marking and we can change scoring guidelines that exist and make as many of these as we need to run our auditions. When it does tiebreakers, the first subscore is the first tiebreaker, the second is the second tiebreaker, and so on. So you want to enter these in the order you want them to be used for tiebreakers. Next, under auditions, these are all the different instruments for which a student can enter and audition. For each one, we have the name, we have the audition group. This comes into play if you're running auditions. For example, a student can make both a concert band and a jazz band. You put your jazz band auditions in a separate group and the system will not treat them as a doubler on those two at least. Entry fee, how much does this entry cost? Entry deadline, what's the deadline for that? Order allows us to keep it in score order. If we wanted the harmonica to show up after contra clarinet in lists, we would click after high school contra clarinet. Scoring guideline, this is which of the scoring guidelines we looked at a while ago apply to this audition. If we want to add an audition group, that's over here. Usually we won't need to do that. Add audition is to add another instrument. If there's something missing off of your list, you can add it here. If we want to update all auditions at once, for example, in this case the entry fees are 0, that's probably not what we want. We can update all of our concert band auditions at once and set the entry fee to $6 and say that we're going to use the concert win scoring guide, and we can set our deadline for all of those at once. And then if there's one or two that are different, we can go in and change. For example, our percussion is not going to use the wind scoring guide, it's going to use the percussion scoring guide. Next, under ensembles. These are the different groups we have that make the band. In this case, we have a concert band and then the alternates. If maybe we had a symphonic band that was going to be a higher group, we'd want our concert band to be ranked second, and we add symphonic band to be first. So now students will be, the highest scores will be placed in the symphonic band and then into the concert band and then as alternate spots. Acceptance limits. This is where we define how many students are accepted on each instrument. They're all 0 for symphonic band since I just put it, but maybe we want as few as 0 harmonicas, and maybe we'll take up to 3 harmonicas in the symphonic band. We want up to 6 harmonicas in the concert band, and we can take up to 2 alternates. And you can set your instrumentation for your group here for each ensemble that you have, what the minimum and maximum acceptable are, and then at the bottom, submit limits to accept. Next setting, rooms. This is where we set up what room students are going to be auditioning in. For the band room, if we scroll down here, currently has just the harmonicas in it. If we wanted to add another room, we're going to have room 112. Maybe in room 112 we're going to put our high school flutes and our high school bassoons. It'll give us an update as we add entries, how many entries are in each of our rooms. Once we look down here, if for some reason we wanted to pull something out of room 112, we wanted those bassoons to go somewhere else, we can move them to the band room. Back down, we see they're in there. If we want to change the order, maybe we want the bassoons to go first, we can move them up and they'll appear first in that room. For judging assignments, it's going to show us each of our rooms. We've already got 2 judges here, Mark Anthony and Baba Booey, are judging in the band room. In room 112, if we wanted to assign Willie Sanford and Cecil Sansom to judge, we would assign rooms. And again, we just go through all of our rooms and we assign who's going to judge in each room. Under the admin, this is largely to deal with entries and users and such. Users, these represent your directors. There are people that have entered. They'll usually be creating their own accounts. Features that you might need here, the little pencil will let you edit if there's something about their information you need to update. The little trash can would delete that user. The lock can change your password, and you've got two options when you change your password. If you leave it set on the first option, the system will generate a random password and will email it to them. Or sometimes audition morning, people don't remember their passwords and it's not worth that hassle of finding their email. You can change to set password manually, and you can create a password for whatever you want their password to be, and then click change password and it'll be set, and then they can log in with their username and password that you made for them. If you need to create an account, maybe you have someone that's not a director that's just coming to judge, you can click create new user and you'll give them a username, their email. If they're not associated with the school, you leave that there and then enter the rest of their information. Schools, same sort of deal. You can edit the school information. You can delete a school. The little note card will show you whatever's happened regarding that school. And you've got view invoice. You can view an invoice entry report for any of the schools with all of their entries and the fees that were charged for them. Search entries allows us to search for any entry. We just put whatever criteria we want to search for. We can see them. We can get every student named Matt. We can search for all schools, all students from Azeroth. Ooh, they don't have any. Maybe Glassville. Yeah, Glassville's got a few. So we can look and see all of the entries as we need to search for them. If we need to edit an entry, we can click the pencil to edit it. Reload that page. We can see the history of an entry here. We can see what his subscores are, his results, entry history. If there was anything logged regarding it, it would be here, and the entry details over here. If we want to add a brand new entry, we would go to add entry, and we're going to add Charlie Parker. He's going to be an 11th grader, and we're going to say that he's playing the alto sax. You'll notice some of these are grayed out. If results are published, it won't let me add an entry because the results are already up. If they're entering for advancement, I'd click here. He's from Castlecote, and we can waive the late fee if we want to charge them an entry fee, and we click submit. And we'll see here showing up if we want to make a handwritten entry card. We know his ID card is 1389, and he is high school alto number 40. The recent entries just shows us the most recently added entries. View logs just lets us see what all's happened. We can see here where we add this entry for Charlie Parker, and we can kind of see everything that happens with the system on the log screen. Okay. Run draw, this is where we would assign random audition numbers for them. If I wanted to do it for all auditions, I could check all. And then when I hit run draw, it's going to assign new draw numbers for them. You're only going to want to do this once. If you print cards and sign-in sheets and things like that, those are all going to be worthless if you run the draw again, because all of their draw numbers are going to change. So you'll want to do that once before auditions start. Double or draw conflicts. This will help if you have students that are doubling and you're pretty sure you won't have a lot of no-shows. For example, it's going to see Bernadette Adams is 790th in her room on bari sax and 793rd in her room on tenor sax. We didn't really do rooms, so these aren't going to be accurate. But auto resolve will try to move these apart. If you have a lot of no-shows, that still doesn't work out because the system can't really predict when they're going to play. But that's kind of an overview of all the admin options. If you've got any questions, always feel free to email and ask. It's matt@mattyoung.us. Thank you.